Yesterday, I made a video talking about a lot of the criticism that is coming towards Nami and kind of addressing a post. And I think in many ways that video came off as very provocative, very not very explanation heavy, and I think very biased. And what came across in some of the comments were some people were talking about, especially in some messages I got separately, about kind of HeartPiratesTCG doing a video on how he hates Nami. And what I wanted to do is maybe spend this video criticizing this, because I think there will be some things that I disagree with, and hopefully I can use this video to better articulate my thoughts on this. There's a lot of criticisms that I think are fair. I made a lot of judgment against people that have been very decorated in terms of their competitive success in the game, but I would highly encourage many of you to push back on opinions of those folks that you don't necessarily agree with good evidence. You should criticize things that you see, but you should do so with evidence and understanding. You should be able to do that with an open mind, which is what I was hoping to do. But again, I probably came off as more provocative and argumentative, which I'm hoping not to do here. Addressing the Heart Pirate situation, I don't want to necessarily platform him. I don't agree with his transphobia and his hate for many people in the community and a lot of the slanderous shit that he said. I don't know him personally. I'm not here to critique him. I don't mean to platform him. This is critiquing his views. I have not seen this video at all. So that's what I'm hoping to do. Just kind of outlining that off the bat. This is simply just potentially a defense of Nami. Maybe he brings across some points that I agree with, and maybe I turn into a Nami hater. I'm open to it all. But again, just opening your mind to the idea that just because someone has won a bunch of serials, wins competitively and all that stuff, doesn't mean their opinions on a certain piece are correct. Just because someone wins a lot at the game doesn't mean they understand game design. They understand that facet of the game that allows them to win. They don't. That doesn't mean they understand game design, game mechanics, what's good or not for the game. They have their own lens on it. And it doesn't mean I understand it perfectly, but I'm going to provide my counterpoints to it. That's what I'm saying. My opinion is just as valid as theirs. You can choose to believe their opinion because they have more evidence and success in the game, which is fair, but you shouldn't be blindly believing these people either. I think the way some people were kind of deriding a little bit in the comments was a little too much, but I completely understand why you would believe them over myself. Completely agree. I'm just someone blabbing at the internet. So let's click on the video. Let's talk about the aftermath of the OPTCG ban list. And let's get right into it. I was just working on editing this video as well and was just kind of responding to this as well. So I just want to point out that this interaction exists and how I am backtracking and apologizing. So Russell, I said in my previous video that Russell isn't a great player. He doesn't know how to play the game. And that I agree was inflammatory. That was incorrect. And that was a shitty thing for me to say. What I will say is that what I wanted to focus on, what I didn't say and what I did not make clear, or again, just did not say at all, was that I don't think Russell knows much about game design if he agrees that Nami is not good for the game, or if that is of his opinion, which I will stand by. I don't think he does. He is still an amazing One Piece TCG player and much better than I am. So I'll take the L on that. I will wholeheartedly point out what I said. Russell, thank you for pointing that out, and I'll take the L. You're right. I said something inflammatory, but I still think you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to game design. But you're miles better of a One Piece player than I currently am, and honestly probably ever will be. So let's hop right in the video.
A video talking about the aftermath of the ban list, and I will say right now that if this is officially for the United States, like the Western format, starting 9.1, so September 1st, if this is, we don't know for sure yet, I don't think it has been announced just yet, then this is very, very bad for the majority of One Piece players, and I will go ahead and tell you why.
Sure.
But to start out with, Law, Red Purple Law, and then Enies Lobby are banned. They are banned from the game, and that is it. Now, this takes place September 1st. We're not sure if it's for us or not. So with that being said, let me show you guys exactly why I think this is really bad.
And so far, he just expressed his opinion. Like, I may not agree with this, but I'm going to give him a chance to give his arguments because I don't want to come off as an unreasonable person, regardless of how I feel about him as a person.
I'm sorry, I'm edging you guys. I saw this in the Small Hat Crew video, and I completely agree with this. If you comment something and you have not heard my entire philosophy, like if you're not willing to hear me out, I'm not going to hear you out. So like, don't comment anything if you haven't watched the whole video, because I explain what's going on in the video. So just from now on, if anytime something like that happens, if you make a point that goes against something.
In all fairness though, like the whole reason that part of the driver for this was like HeartPiratesTCG actually commented on my video yesterday criticizing people that criticize Nami, and he kind of just made a bunch of statements without any backup either. And I understand like the comment section of YouTube videos aren't exactly like, you know, Twitter replies and everything aren't the place for nuance. I'm gonna hear you out, but kind of practice what you preach. But let's see what you say
in the video. I'm not responding to it. So these are all of the decks that Law brought down. So red, purple Law was hurting these decks in some way, right? So obviously red, green Law. Now we're not saying it's meta, but it won a regional. So it has to be some type of viable, right? It has to have some type of viability. So
I think a lot of people, so I agree with this. I think a lot of people also get caught up in the fact that like just because they see a meta breakdown, I think a lot of casuals actually get behind this as well. Like why videos that are like tier lists and get a lot of views, because it's for casuals. Like a lot of decks that are meta playable and have a powerful ability are playable. They are all playable to a certain degree, especially like Moria. Like Moria was and is a good black deck. It's just like slightly worse than Lucci. It's like slightly less consistent, but it can get off to some ridiculous starts. I mean, like people are playing like the whole poker table that is black, white Luffy, like the high highs and low lows. So just goes to show you,
Bonnie,
mostly decks are viable.
Enel, Perona. Funny enough, like I think even Cross AI said this on Twitter, saying like if he can figure out the Perona of the red purple Law matchup, he'd win the entire regional. I believe it, bro. I mean, but now red purple Law is banned. Obviously, these decks are no longer hurt by it. So Luffy, I would say if they're really smart and they play a defensive style of the deck, then red purple Law does kind of go pretty well into black yellow Luffy, and then Reiju, obviously because the Dawn Mine is with Law. And then Gecko Moria because they no longer play Lucci, so it's harder for them to get the removal that they need. So these are all the decks that were hurt by Law. These are all the decks that were hurt by Lucci, right? So Boa Hancock, Blue Doflamingo, Bonnie, and then obviously Law again, right? Now some people might say, okay, you know, Enel was also hurt by Lucci. I'm willing to hear you guys out, even though I do think Enel is not as unfavored as you guys might think. So for just this scenario right here, we'll say that Enel was also
not a lot of opinions on this. I'm primarily a blue player. I mess around with Dofi. I mess around with Ivankov because that deck is super fun. Those are the primarily like non-blue, non-Nami decks that I play. I'm a blue player. I really like what blue has to offer and the style that it has. A little non-traditional compared to the other decks. I think the next closest color I would really enjoy is probably green. But you know, not a lot of opinion. I don't want to play yellow.
So these are the leaders of all of this. After the ban list, these are the leaders that are still relevant in a tournament. So you have still black yellow Luffy, Doflamingo, Lucci, Reiju, Perona,
Reiju definitely,
Enel, and Bonnie. So there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Perona's an interesting
leaders. I know we're going to talk about Nami, guys. Please do not. This is exactly where we're going. So there are 7 leaders that are still relevant, not including Nami. Right. Of those 7 leaders, the leaders that can consistently beat Nami are Reiju and Doflamingo, and it's
okay. So first state, well, okay, let me hear them out.
Because they have access to Gion. It is the only deck that has access to Gion. But of these meta relevant leaders, here are the ones that can consistently beat Lucci.
Okay, so, all right, hold on. So it's not just Gion, right? Like I think, okay, so here's the thing, right? Like this is just taking into account Nami as in a vacuum. So it's very clear that HeartPirates doesn't play Nami himself, right? To any degree. So Gion isn't the primary problem. If people tech Gion, I will tech removal. That's simple, right? I can counter Gion. It'll take some time. If people start playing Gion, I'm talking about, I actually recorded some ranked Nami gameplay today, played some off as well. And it seems like I want to get back on a Gravity Blade based on the amount of Gion that people are attacking. I can tech back into removal. The big problem in the blue matchups is putting, because what a lot of other decks will do is starve you, play out characters, and start swinging like 11Ks at you. Not even 9s. They'll just start swinging 11s. Heck, if they can, if the character is big enough, they'll swing 13, right? Because that's 2 4K counters. The deck doesn't play Deathwink anymore. Or it can. It's close. It doesn't really play Deathwink anymore. You're playing Hanger. And putting is the big problem because blue decks can starve you, not swing at all, dig for putting you, then swing on that turn. So they'll go to their 10 Dawn turn, they'll build their board. Even beyond that, they'll play putting, then they'll have 6 Dawn to attach to a full wide board where they'll go 1 Dawn to each one of those characters and their leader, and they play around White Snake. That's it. At a baseline, you play around White Snake, and you just make them work with a 5-card hand. 5-card hand, they White Snake you. That's 2 Dawn. They have 8 more Dawn, 5 more cards to counter out of everything else. If they have another White Snake, sure, right? But you don't attach 1 Dawn at a time. You attach 1 Dawn, bait out the White Snake, like you just keep going. So putting is the real problem here. If you are a actual logical half decent player, you will understand that fundamentally in the long term, putting is more of a problem to the Nami player than Gion is. I can tech against Gion. Putting, I have to draw the right cards to play against. I actually have to mulligan and have certain cards come up to play against putting. But Gion, like generally speaking, like sure, I can take a hit or two. If you have it on turn 1, all right, you got it. But I'm probably more likely able to find removal, especially with Gravity Blade in my deck. If I played like 4 Gravity Blade, they could go into my triggers. You hit me, I trigger, I remove the Gion. It's easier to deal with that effect. Putting, I can't deal with that effect. Putting just going to come on play. It's going to wipe my hand. I have to play like Apices to get rid of my hand and then play like Sanji's Peel-Offs to get that back. I have to see all my Kayas, right? Like stuff like that. Gion just kind of like, I can generally speaking remove Gion. I find putting as more of a problem.
It's Reiju and Luffy. Now, obviously Reiju because they're very fast now with the Porsche.
And especially if I'm playing Gravity Blade, this Luffy matchup becomes a joke.
And without the stage, it makes it a little bit harder to deal with them on curve. But even I would go as far as say Reiju isn't even like heavily, favored into the matchup. I think they're probably slightly favored now into the matchup, but it's not like, it's not a crazy amount. And then obviously Black Yellow Luffy because he can loop Sabo and Gecko. So that's a huge problem because the leaders that can consistently beat Lucci are these two right here. And only one of those can consistently beat Nami. So if you run into a Nami player for the majority of the decks, other than these two right here that have access to Gion, a card that literally no other deck has access to except for a blue deck, then you are very likely to lose the game.
This is...
Let's
you asked me to hear you out.
Scenarios why these decks are like losing to Nami. Lucci's too slow. Perona's probably too slow. Anel is definitely too slow. Bonnie, the only way you can beat it is if you get like 2 9-cost Zoros, which is still kind of slow.
Okay. I'm just gonna start from the top here. Okay. Consistently speaking, I'm gonna call him Black White Luffy. I don't care. There's someone in my comments that keeps saying, why do I keep calling it Black White Luffy? Because I'm Magic the Gathering. I'm not calling this yellow. Black White Luffy. They're like, unless they find like they can eliminate their life, play Rush NL, like 2 Rush NLs in a row by eliminating their life, they're probably not beating me. This deck tends to be a little bit too like slot machine, and we can get on the better side of variance most of the time. Dofi covered it like as a blue deck, sure. Reiju covered it as a blue deck, sure. Lucci, I think, can be favored, but this is a pilot issue. It's actually pretty close. The Lucci matchup is a pilot issue. A lot of players, like a lot of level 1 Lucci players, obviously like level 1 One Piece players, they'll swing into Nami in matchups like this and they'll lose the game because you're allowing me to use my events in efficient ways. Like they'll just swing 5Ks and like I'm just winning off a White Snake. That's your fault. That's level 1 One Piece players. Level 2 One Piece players, like in Lucci, they'll be like, oh, I'll play something like 6-cost Brook. Bottom deck your cards. See, that doesn't do anything because you'll spend a lot of the time killing my blockers, killing my Kayas with your 3-cost Brook, and then the cards that I bottom deck with 6-cost Brook are what I choose. So I'm just gonna bottom deck the Kayas. I'm just gonna bottom deck the Luffy or the Peel-Offs that I used already, right? Like I get to choose what gets bottom decked. So it's actually not as useful as you think. The good Lucci players will build out a board. They will wait. And then they will play out a lot of these bigger characters and they will continue to pop my characters with their Rob Lucci's like my blockers. They'll set up a big board, then they'll start going for alpha swings with like Morias or bigger characters, right? Like 6K, 7K swings, like 6K, 7K characters, and then add a bunch of Dons, start going 9s. If they get some Warriors out, they can go 13s, right? Like that's what good Lucci players will do. And then they will also put in like 1 Brook, 2 Brooks, whatever, bottom deck those. And then if you can start recurring them over and over again, sure, you can get there. Rob Lucci losing a lot of times is just pilot error. You can play this better. A lot of Nami opponents do not understand that if you fundamentally change your gameplay, that you will win the matchup just by starving and prioritizing key characters and understanding the effects and understanding what the Nami player is playing for. A lot of Nami opponents don't understand what they're doing in the game because they keep going on the sim and leaving the Nami matchup because they think it's boring. No, you suck at the game because you're the same person that will go to regionals, then come onto a video like this and complain about how Nami is bad for the game. What are you talking about? You have no practice versus the matchup. You won't even play the deck. You won't even understand what the deck loses to. So how are you going to learn how to play against it? No. The Perona matchup, I think, I can understand why. I can understand why. Bonnie is a little tougher though. Being green, like just solo green, Bonnie's a little tougher because it has a lot of tap down effects. And it's really hard for me to swing into things. So a lot of times you tend to have a lot of cards in hand. So attacking is out of the question because then your attack will kind of tap down like a blocker or something. Bonnie's a little bit harder. And saying 2 Zoros, no, you just need 1 Zoro. 1 Zoro just ends the game. Nami players cannot beat 1 Zoro unless you have Red Rock. Nami players also should not be playing Red Rock in this metagame. You just take the Elder Zoro. I think the Perona matchup, like it has some key black cards that can really change that matchup. NL is not as easy as you think it is. You do not understand what you're talking about if you think NL is as easy as you think it is. Katakuri is easier than NL. NL can control the game. NL is the key starve opponent. NL players good yellow players, good One Piece players understand that when they play NL, you play one character at a time. You do not swing. You play your Gadatsus, you play your Yamatos, you pop my blockers. That's it. Then you build out a wide board. Rush Ace, Yamato, Gadatsu, other copies of those cards. Then you start swinging 13s. That's it. You swing 9s with your Gadatsu, you swing 13s with your Yamato and Ace, and you force me to have it. That's it. You do that 3 turns in a row, all of a sudden I ain't got nothing. That's it. And you just hope I don't have like an active hand because I understand what you have to do now. I have to then mulligan to Kaya, Apices, and Gloriosas. I can't keep a handful of counters because then I'll get nowhere. I will lose that game. NL actually is a lot better into Nami than people give it credit for. A lot better into Nami. It is just play pattern. It is just play pattern. I literally gave you 3 examples of how it like almost every single one of these matchups can beat Nami consistently. Almost every single one of these can beat Nami consistently. It is just play pattern. Just people do not want to put in the practice for it. They'll go to a regional and lose. And just because Nami beat them, they'll get on Twitter, they'll get on YouTube and complain. I'm giving you free advice as a Nami player, as someone who actively makes mistakes, as someone who's not a pro player, that is actively on the losing end of people that know how to play against Nami. I am giving you free advice. Just
you have to wait till, you have to wait 2 9-Don turns and the card isn't searchable. Even if you go 16 3 times, like you're still probably not going to get there. So yeah, all of them are way too slow. They're way.
Has this man ever played Zoro against Nami? How many Nami players in this comment section have actually beat a Zoro without Red Rock? Be for real. 9-cost Zoro comes down. They're on the play. 9-cost Zoro comes down on their 9-Don turn. How many of you have beat it without Red Rock? Like, be for real right now. Don't lie to me. You have not. That card comes down on curve. That card comes down the turn after. That card comes the turn after that. You have not beat it. It's so hard. Statistically, you have not beat it. Don't lie to yourself.
Way too slow. And the ones that are able to actually beat Nami cannot beat Lucci. So you're in a dice roll meta once again, where it's like, damn, if I play any of these decks and I run into Nami, then I lose.
But see, this is the thing though. Like, okay, so I think people like forget how card games like actually work. This is another idea on like meta games. There will always be a best deck. Always, there will always be a best deck. There will be a best 2 decks. There will be a best 3 decks. Something has to be in the top of the metagame. The metagame is actually wide open if you choose to make it wide open. People will go, like content creators like myself, Heart Pirates and other people are responsible, have a moral obligation to what the metagame becomes. People going on YouTube, going on Twitter, showing like tier lists, showing Reiju at S tier and everything else at like A-, not even A. You are responsible for making that metagame, because casuals will then go play that deck in droves, right? A lot of casuals won't even watch that actually, and they'll go play their own games. But the casual spike will then watch that and then play these decks. The metagame is actually relatively wide open. A lot of decks can actually work through concise and clear gameplay. You can beat Nami, you can beat Lucci, and yes, you are allowed to have a bad matchup against a certain matchup. Just because you have a bad matchup against Nami doesn't mean Nami is bad for the game. He hasn't said that yet, to be fair. But
and then if I play any of these decks that beat Nami and run into Lucci, then I lose. It's so shitty, guys. It's so shitty. This is awful. This is absolutely abysmal, and I am shocked that they didn't realize this with Nami has already won 2 treasure cups essentially. Or
this is the only time we've won. What are you talking about? Hello? Nami wins once? Yo, no. All of you creators out there with your Twitter fingers running out there, Nami support every time like something gets printed with cards. Do you know fundamentally what you're talking about? Some of y'all are trolling. What are you talking about? Already won 2 treasure cups. Y'all didn't have this energy with Law, with Whitebeard, with Sokka. No one had this. But they were happy to see Sokka mirrors in every single top 8. They were happy to see 4 Sokka mirrors in the top 8. But don't want to play a single game of Nami. They don't want to see a single Nami win. No. Sokka mirrors, Whitebeard mirrors, all this crap being an enjoyable experience to watch is your opinion. A casual player wants to see variety. A casual player wants to see the budget deck win. A casual player wants to see a variety in the metagame. And you know what the casual player is? The majority of the game. The majority of the people in this game do not consume content, do not believe this nonsense, actually believe that different decks winning in different tournaments are actually good for the game. What are you saying? This is the shit that triggers me so much. What are you talking about? And I'm not blaming Heart Pirates for this. Again, I want to point out this is a criticism of his thoughts. I'm not attacking him as a person. I am attacking the thought, like the statement here. Because him as a person, as a transphobe and everything, that's a whole other thing. Nami won 2 tournaments and y'all are tripping? Hello?
Or a treasure cup, and then the regional now in Pasadena. So this is a huge issue. And it's not because I hate Nami, because there's no surprise on that. Everyone knows I hate Nami. But it's the fact that the majority of the player base does not like playing against it or playing it. So like
that is just okay. This is because people need to get good. Like, yo, okay, no. Be for real with me. How many people that hate playing against Nami play other TCGs? And in those other TCGs, do other combos and alternate win conditions exist in those TCGs? And are they fun to play against or bad to play against because of the card design or the archetype itself? Is the design of the win condition and the answers to them the actual problem? Or is it the fact that you hate against it because combos suck? What is the actual problem? Because the design of the game allows you to beat Nami. The play patterns that you can enact as a player allow you to beat Nami. Don't cope. Be honest with yourself and tell yourself that you suck as a player before you start blaming the archetype. This is beyond Nami. As a Magic the Gathering player for 10 years, a game with actual good card design, way better than this, that has numerous ways to win the game through mill, through alternate win conditions, that have also multiple answers and play patterns that can beat those alternate win conditions through multiple formats, through over 30 years of success. I am begging all of you One Piece players and Nami haters to really understand that if Nami gets banned, if Nami is not successful, if alternate win conditions are not successful, this game is dead. Casual players need a way to identify themselves with different ways to play the game. We can't play the same combat cycler over and over again. The game just revolves around attacking your opponent. That is it. There are just different ways to do so. Every leader that gets printed these days just have a different form of value. That's all it is. It is still about attacking. Nami is the only combo alt win con leader. It is the only interesting leader in this game because every other leader is about value or attacking. That is it. That is a boring game when you look at it from an objective standpoint because of the lack of variety. Print all win cons, give other people ways to access the game, give other people ways to enjoy the game instead of just printing 10 copies of Luffy again because it's just about the marketing. We don't need more alt art laws, more alt art Luffys, all this stuff. We need different ways to engage with the game. We need a variety so people are forced to think. So people like this don't get to go around talking about how Nami's a problem with the game. Get good at the game, improve your play style, improve your approach to the Nami matchup, play Nami, and then play against Nami and actually understand the matchup before you understand that it's boring. It can actually be a pretty quick game for you because you will then be able to outsmart us Nami players over and over again. Other than that, I will be taking free wins from you.
If you do not want to have a meta that people don't want to play, like people will quit the game because if you play against every time I play against Nami, I know exactly how to play. So don't be like, oh, you got to figure out how to play.
No, you don't. What are you talking about? How do you play against it? How do you play against it? I want to hear.
Guys, it's literally just 9 at life the whole game.
No, wrong. Because what happens when I white snake and then 4K you? It's not 9 in life. It's starve me, play big, swing 13, swing 11, force me to use a 4K and a 2K. No, that's not how you consistently beat Nami. That is how you beat Nami, sure, not consistently. When do you have the resources to do that? Play out a giant board, swing 11, swing 13s. Prioritize your big characters.
And then there's like some very small exceptions, you know, if they're running out of Dawn, you do certain shit different, but it's basically just 9 at life the whole game, right? I'm on my phone the entire time I'm playing against Nami because there's no interaction. It's not like I'm like, what are they going to do? Literally,
Nami's the most interactive. Ah, God, you suck, man. You don't know what you're talking about. Nami is the single most interactive deck in the game. All it does is interact. It counters in combat. It forces you to think. It plays removal. It plays blockers. It draws. It thinks about the pieces. You have never played Nami. You have never had to make a real decision in your life. What are you talking about? This is some nonsense that an old soccer player would say. No, not every deck can be Sakazuki, where you draw and discard and choose through the cards. Yes, I understand. Sakazuki was a very skill-testing deck. Nami is highly interactive. You have to make multiple gameplay decisions as an opponent and as a Nami player. You have to know when to take life, when not to take life. Your opponent also has to understand when to attack, when not to attack. People like this are the type of players. Well, think about this. Here's another free tip against Nami. So many Nami players so many Nami opponents in ranked, not unranked, in paper that tell me they're good players will do this over and over again. And you're telling on yourself. So imagine this, right? I'm at like 15 cards. 15 cards left in deck. Maybe like 4 cards in hand. I got 3 done left. I got 2 life. So you attack. You got a full board. Let's say you got like 3-4 characters. Full board's a little bit harder. So let's say you got like 3-4 characters, right? You swing, I count out of 1. You swing, count out of another. Now I'm out of done. I had 3 done, I said. I'm out of done. Now I have to take hit. I have to take a hit. I take the hit. Maybe it's like a snake dance. I bounce my character. I bounce your other attacker. Great. Okay, so I took a hit. I have 1 more. I have no counters now. So you attack him with your leader. I'm at 0 life, right? Now that was a scenario where, yeah, you went for lethal and my trigger worked for me. Great. What if that snake dance didn't trigger? Right? What if you had a situation where I had 3 life, you had 3 swings, 3 life and 3 swings, right? So that was, I highlighted a situation where my trigger actually worked for me and you went for lethal and it was correct. Cool. In that situation, I had 1 life left. Why did you swing with your last attack? I snake danced, removed your out of 3 attacks you had left. You hit me with 1. I have 1 life left. You have 2 attacks left. My snake dance took away your second attack. Why did you swing with your leader to take my last life away? Why did you do that? Why did you give me an opportunity for that trigger to be an impel down, to be a peel off, to be some type of draw to like a Spada, to then get me further into my deck and win the game? I have won so many games where people have no good evaluation of the game. Stop swinging into Nami if you do not have lethal in situations like that. Minimize the amount of cards in my hand and then wait for the next turn. Because if that triggers like an impel down or a Spada or a peel off, I could draw into characters and those characters mean nothing in combat. They are just a 1k, 2k swing counter. They mean nothing. Now I have 0 life and that last counter that you should have left means nothing. But when you do, if that last trigger drew me 2 cards, I'm now at maybe 13 cards. If I was at 15, I draw for a turn, I'm at 12. Maybe I drew some Kais, maybe I drew some peel-offs, I go Apis, blah, 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 find some Gavels, all of a sudden I can win the game. Another free tip of people that don't understand how to play against Nami have opinions like this that don't mean anything. What do you mean you're on your phone? This is why you're losing, because you're not paying attention. That statement makes no sense. It's not funny. It's not cool. Like, oh, like it's not a combo player sitting there playing a bunch of cards, storming off, playing a real combo deck in other games like in Yu-Gi-Oh, like in Magic. That's when you're on your phone because you don't have to interact. You don't have to do anything. What do you mean you don't have to pay attention? What are you saying? Hey, yo.
Like it literally just gonna counter, bro. Like it's not like a hard thing. So if I'm on my phone and I'm like yawning the entire time playing against Nami, what do you guys think the majority of the player base is also going to do? Because the majority of the player
pay attention and learn how to improve at the game.
Is also thinks the way that I think regarding Nami, right? They think it's boring. They think it's lame. I've talked to hundreds of new players throughout my time.
You haven't cap. I'm calling cap on that. The cap. I'm calling cap. You have no way to prove that, and I have no way to prove that you're lying or you're telling the truth. I'm calling cap. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. And you know what? I'm gonna do this live right now. No, watch this. I'm gonna do this live right now. Okay. Minimize this. Okay. Mark Rosewater, Mill 2010 article. Okay. Milling about Magic the Gathering. This is an article by one of the greatest TCG designers out there. Still designing a successful game. Talking about Mill in 2010. Okay. Scroll down. By the way, shout out to Millstone for even making Nami possible. Okay. Hold on. Follow me here. Because you mentioned casual players. Follow me here. Okay. Where is it? I believe it's at the bottom of the article. Where is it? Something? I think it's here, actually. Yeah. Okay. So, right here. R&D was worried about this card before it came out. So this was like you pay 1 red, remove the top 10 cards of your library, and then it deals 2 damage. So R&D was worried about this card before it came out because it's very powerful. When it came out, lukewarm response players we learned didn't want to play it. And it was an interesting lesson because what happens, you pay red and you remove the top 10 cards of your deck and you deal 2 damage. Right? You deal 2 damage. They didn't want to mill themselves because casual players don't understand the difference between your cards getting milled and drawing a card. It's all random. They want to have the choice. They felt like when you mill your cards over, you mill over your best card, and then you don't have the chance to draw it anymore, even though it's random. Your best cards could have just been at the bottom of the deck. You'd never draw them anyway. They would rather be screwed in terms of their draws than milled over. Let's say a player plays a game and never draws his awesome dragon. Is he upset? Not majorly so. Players get that they're not going to see every card every game. Sometimes your most powerful cards are just on the bottom of your deck. Literally what I just said. Let's take the same player and have them get milled. Among the cards that get put in the graveyard is his dragon. What we've discovered is this is rather upsetting for most players, seeing their best card go and morale go. Why? What's the difference between the card getting milled and it's just being the bottom of the deck? Logically, very little. Psychologically, a lot. You're telling on yourself. Your mental's weak. Casual players' mental's weak. We should be doing our jobs as content creators to improve that. We have a moral obligation to help casual players overcome this and make stuff like this accepting. It's okay to get milled out. It's okay to lose to things like this. You need to play better. Logically, psychologally, a lot. The card sitting in your deck is potentially your next draw. Sure, you might never draw it, but you don't know that. The lack of knowledge from where it is gives a player hope. A similar phenomenon can be seen with lottery tickets. A man buys a lottery ticket for $50 million payout. The ticket is exciting until the moment he learns he's not a winner. Until the drawing, the ticket is potentially $50 million. That's exciting, even if the man says the chance of getting the money is infinitesimally small. Like, the result of this lesson is twofold. First, we are very hesitant to make players mill themselves. Magic the Gathering is full of ways to mill yourself. Secondly, we have to be aware that milling has a stronger psychological impact than logic would assume. Players are more likely to feel the milling effect are stronger than they usually are. Also, because of this reaction, we have made a conscious decision to limit how much milling we do in any one set, which is fair because you have limited environments with shorter deck sizes. Again, casual environments like the standard format, fair. Sometimes getting milled is okay, but having it happen all the time can be problematic. This article literally talks about, from a casual player's environment, and for any player in any TCG, especially from the TCG that made milling. If you enjoy milling, this is the game that made it. One of the designers of this game, the head designer, is one of the most recognizable faces in TCG game design. Mark Rosewater is telling you it logically makes very little sense. Psychologically has a big impact. You have a weak mental. You cannot think past your own biases. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm making videos as a YouTuber, and all of them are like, bro, like, how do people like Nami? It's so boring. And it's just the truth. I'm gonna come back to this right here. It's just the truth, guys. This is the issue. The problem is,
I'm gonna try and calm down a little bit. I've been screaming. I'm gonna try and calm down.
None of the decks that you can play can beat Nami except for two of them. And
wrong, objectively wrong. Like, genuinely objectively wrong.
Those two, one of them, both of them probably can't beat Lucci, and one of them maybe can beat Lucci consistently, but still it's not very likely. It's just a massive problem. And if this is going to be in effect for us in the West, then we are going to look at a very sharp decline of professional play. And I don't.
Wow. This is worse than me. When on my primary channel, or heck, even on this channel, when I post a thumbnail with my shock face, like, and then I post crazy meta, whatever, and then post some like crazy thumbnail of a game I had, that's like worse than me. That type of clickbait thumbnail, that's not as bad as what he's just saying. A sharp decline in competitive play. Woo! It's not anything to do with Bandai's management of reward systems, pricing, cheating, lack of online digital client to stop all the cheating in webcam play. Like, it's not any of this. It is Nami that is going to create a sharp decline in competitive play. I cannot believe what I'm listening to.
I think there are going to be a lot of people going to Nats. I personally, if this is the meta, will not be going to Nats because there's no reason to. If I play any deck that is a little bit slower, I'm going to lose to not only do I hate playing Nami already, but if I go into a tournament and there's going to be a surplus of Nami players because it's actually good now, that's the issue, bro. Like, I'm not going to Nats. I'm probably not going to play in any treasure cups because there's just no reason to, because I'm going to get, griefed out of the game. Like, by
speaking of grief, holy, shout out to all my Magic the Gathering players. A card that needs to be freaking banned out of Magic in any format that it's legal in.
By them milling out their deck with Kayas and shit. So yeah, let me know if you guys think the same way as I do. I'm pretty sure most people think that way.
Okay, again, just making like random big statements. How many of you have actually, statistically speaking, as a Nami player, won your games? How many of you have won your games the majority of the time through milling yourself out with Kaya? Because me personally, and you've seen this on videos that I post on this channel, gameplay videos I post on this channel, I have not actively done so. I have won more through my events, milling myself out through gavels, rubber bands, Deathwink, whatever. I have done more of that than winning through Kaya's. I feel like this is part of the psychological thing. A lot of people remember the old days in like 04, 05 when they go Kaya, Brickfist, Kaya, Kaya, Brickfist, Kaya, Zeph, Bounce, Kaya, Brickfist. Like that's too much Dawn at that. Or no, yeah. Kaya, Brickfist, Kaya, Zeph, Bounce, Kaya, Kaya. That's one. That's draw for turn. Kaya, Zeph, Kaya. That's almost 9 cards that turn. That is what people psychologically remember. How many, like, what do you mean milling yourself out with Kaya's? I'm picking apart the things you're saying because it's showing your bias. It's showing your bias and lack of understanding of the matchup and actually as a pilot of Nami, if you play it.
Of course, if you guys want to hear my thoughts on it, just go to my Discord. We'll talk and do stuff like that. But yeah, let me know if I'm missing any leaders or anything. But there's almost no leader right now that can beat Nami, which is why it's relevant, except for what is it called? Blue decks, and then blue decks just auto lose to Lucci. Now, of course, with red purple all being dead, there's like certain decks that can survive, like maybe like Zoro or something like that can be better. But like even then, Zoro isn't that great into Nami, I don't think. I mean, it's probably.
Again, I did a lot of screaming in this video. I want to point out I am not attacking my guy as a person. I have my own gripes with him and his opinions as a person. I don't stand for bigotry. That's not me. I think all of these opinions I hate. And you know what? I past the screaming, I do want to openly say that being a reasonable person, I am still open to being heard my counterpoints. So especially as like a big creator, I don't really want to do a video with Heart Pirates. That doesn't seem like a logical thing to do to platform a bigot. But if any other creator has like opposing views on Nami, I would love to have like actually a nice back and forth on your opinions versus mine. Express our views as to maybe why you hate Nami, why you don't think it's viable for the game. And I would love to be convinced on either side. Like maybe I convince you, maybe you convince me, I change my opinion, you change your opinion, whatever. I would love that. I'm opening up the invitation for open forum. That's what I'm doing. So if anyone wants to do that, sure. If not, that's fine. I'm going to keep defending Nami. I'm going to scream it to the moon. If Nami gets banned out of this game, I will just quit this game and I will go play Magic the Gathering because that is where I'm the happiest. As many of you know, I have my main channel with Magic. One Piece is my side channel. That I'm just gonna go do that because honestly, it's not about the flex. It's about the fact that I don't have time for games that don't want to improve and succeed in different avenues. And if Nami gets banned, if Nami keeps getting like whatever, then fine. I am open to the fact that if Nami does get too powerful in the metagame, I understand the logistics of something where Nami mirrors and all that stuff. I understand all that. And I understand something get banned out of it, but I do not think Nami needs to get banned now, especially with the eventual coming of Blackbeard in 09 and the rise of purple in 08. I just don't see it. Purple is just like naturally one of the better colors against Nami because of the type of value it gets. We can't really interact with it. Like the Dawn minus effects, we just can't interact with it. It's just naturally one of the better colors against us. So I think with the rise of purple in 08, Black Maria gone, not even Black Maria gone, sorry, Black Maria still being available. I think it'll help a lot of decks in purple. And I think Nami will see a bit of a downswing there. And it's okay. 07 doesn't need to be this like stain on the game because Nami's like tier 1, not tier 0 for a little bit. I don't know. I didn't agree with a lot of points in this video. I think I see the benefit of like a lot of, I think I see the points of a lot of people on what they say in terms of like limiting card design in blue. And I generally agree with that. I think this video's gone on long though. So if you wanted me to make a separate video on Nami and how like, there's a separate video on Nami and how like it doesn't limit card design in my opinion and just really kind of elaborate those thoughts, I'm happy to do that. I just think maybe I've been rambling too long on an 8-minute video that I turned into a 43-minute react content. But yeah, anyway, don't mean to be super whatever. I'm not trying to create drama. I'm just trying to defend a leader and part of the game that I love.